So if you read the title, which I would assume you did if you clicked on this video, today we're going to be asking the question of where would Tommy Vercetti be if he was still alive and if he was still in Vice City in 2024? So if that sounds interesting to you, please consider sticking around. I do hope you enjoy. If you do, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It really helps me out, but I don't want to waste your time any further. So let's get straight into the video. So the original GTA Vice City tells us that Tommy is 35 as of when the game is actually taking place, that being 1986, meaning that he was born in 1951, therefore meaning that in 2024, depending on what his birthday is, he'd be around 73, 74. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at all the assets that Tommy, or us the player, acquires in Vice City. Then we're going to discuss whether or not he still has control of them, maybe what new businesses he gained control of after the events of Vice City, where he would actually be, whether he'd actually still be alive or not, and just sort of what he would be doing from his day-to-day life. So let's do this in a way that's sort of easy for you guys to follow and easier for me to make. So let's look at one asset at a time and discuss how that would sort of be running. So we're starting with probably my least favorite asset that we acquire, and that's solely because it gives you the least amount of money. So the Boatyard. This is one that I see Tommy actually selling not too long after the events of the game. He might still keep it, but I feel like it wouldn't be one that he focuses on too much. We know that Tommy is he is a businessman. He's very, very good at what he does. And I feel like a Boatyard was sort of a weird inclusion. It made sense in the game, but I feel like it's one that Tommy either sold or he keeps working on, but he's probably got some other employees sort of working there now, spearheading any projects that they may have. But I feel like the Boatyard just wouldn't be on top of Tommy's priority list. So Sunshine Autos, the car dealership. This one I actually think Tommy would still be running. Now keep in mind he's over 70 years old, so I feel like any criminal activity to do with these assets, which is, let's be honest, most of it, he probably wouldn't be running those operations. He might be, like I said before, he could be thinking of operations and helping them, but I don't think Tommy would be like the front man. He wouldn't be the guy going out and committing all these crimes because of how old he is. Not saying he'd be fragile, but he's definitely not in his best shape at that age. So I feel like with the car dealership, he would still own it and he'd be making even more money now. But I feel like, same with the previous, he's probably got, I'd say, at least 2 to 3 new employees working for him. Probably even more, really. He probably has gang protection and stuff like that. I feel like he probably would be turning it into like a big business. Keeping in mind, he doesn't want the attention of the cops, because obviously Tommy would still be doing illegal stuff. He wouldn't just be selling cars. He is stealing them after all. So I feel like he'd have people helping him out, but he'd still be sort of like the main person at that business. He'd still be running it, but he probably just wouldn't be doing the physical stuff that he did in the original game, I don't think. The ice cream place is an interesting one because I feel like this is one that Tommy actually would have closed and gotten rid of for good. The reason I actually say this is because in the actual mission itself, for the asset that you actually can unlock this business, you get caught by the cops almost every sort of 5 deals you make, and this ramps up as you complete that asset mission. I feel like Tommy would realize how risky it is and stop doing it. Because if you get caught by the cops every time you do it, you're going to draw attention because you have to put the song on the van, and when you do that, cops know what's going on. So I feel like Tommy would realize that this asset is a bit dangerous, and I reckon he could even go to jail for it for a little bit if he doesn't realize this in time. But I feel like he would have definitely sold this one because it was probably causing him a lot of headaches, and it doesn't earn you that much money. So I feel like he would have sold it eventually, unless it began to make a lot of profit, which it does. They get a lot of customers, but it probably would put him in jail, so he probably wouldn't want that. The Printworks is an interesting one because it's one that I think Tommy would definitely still be the manager of, and the reason I think this is because of his connection to it. We learned that in Vice City he used to work at a similar place to this with his dad when he was younger, so he probably connects to it quite a lot, and it earns him a lot of money. It earns us $8,000 daily, so it's very profitable. And it's an important mission, right? It's an important place because we need to complete the missions of the Printworks place to be able to progress and eventually finish the story. So it is a very important place. It's a big business. There's not that many people working there. I feel like Tommy would likely have expanded, either relocated the business to a bigger outlet, or he's probably just got maybe 10 more employees to help out. I think over the years he would have got even more just to help with the more physical out and about stuff as he got older. Koffman Cabs is a relatively simplistic one. I think that this is a very 50-50. I think he'd still own it, but I don't think he'd be in control in any way. He'd still own it. He'd still get a decent amount of the slice, of any money that it makes, but I don't think he'd be running it because it's not really the type of business that Tommy would care about all that much, I don't think. And overall, I don't have too much to say about this business. I think it's very 50-50 whether or not he would keep it under his command or not. So Tommy doesn't really seem to mind the types of movies being made here, but I feel like Tommy might actually change up the style of movies being made at this place. I feel like he would still own it, but it'd be a place that he sort of doesn't care about that much. I feel like the Printworks and probably the Malibu Club, those two in particular, would sort of be like his main focus, and then all the other ones he just wouldn't care about, at least as much, because of his old age now. He can't look after all these sort of assets. But I feel like he would still own this one, but he probably would either change the casting, he'd change the directors to sort of make movies that aren't the type that are in Vice City. But it really depends. Whatever makes money is what Tommy's going to do. So he might not change the style of movies that they make. I feel like he might relocate because it's situated on a very small island in Vice City, so he might make the movie studios a bit more prominent in the city. But overall, I feel like he'd promote these movies more, but I don't really think it'd be like his main goal, especially as he got into his sort of 50s and 60s. I don't really think he would be prioritizing this business that much. The pole position club is one that I see Tommy dropping relatively soon after the game's completion. I feel like this was never one that made us a bunch of money, and it was never one that Tommy really cared about all that much. So I feel like he would have passed over ownership to someone else or just shut it down. I don't really think that Tommy cares that much about this place. The Malibu Club, this one was always the most profitable, and I feel like it's one that Tommy would care about even at his old age. I feel like he definitely would have prioritized this business and the Printworks over everything else because of the amount of money that they make. I feel like Tommy might have actually run a few more heists, not necessarily at that same bank, but I feel like he would have continued to do some heists and further been able to generate even more money from this business. I feel like this is one that he definitely would be prioritizing and looking after and still be running even, in his 70s. So I feel like this is definitely one that it's in a pretty good spot actually in Vice City. I feel like he wouldn't relocate, he'd leave it there. He might expand the business a little bit in terms of the physical location. He might have made it a bit bigger, just made it a more, I guess, not necessarily a friendly, but just a bigger space for people to enjoy. And as we know, Tommy's never just doing stuff to be nice. He's going to have some type of motive, whether that's illegal stuff or money. Those two are generally linked. So I feel like Tommy would definitely be doing some more illegal stuff with this business, but I can still see him at his old age running this place. So now, before we end the video, I just wanted to talk about where I think Tommy would actually be in his daily life and how it would be going. So to start off, would he still be living at the Vercetti estate from the game? I think this is very 50-50. It does actually generate money, not that much, but $5,000 is still pretty decent. I think that he would probably still own this place, but he might rent it out or something like that. He might move to a bigger house. Not that there really are any in Vice City, but theoretically, say the map got bigger, I'd say he would move to it's a pretty rich area, but he'd move to an area with bigger houses. I feel like Tommy would, as I said, still be in most of his businesses. He'd still be a manager, if not the sole manager, but I feel like he would sort of take a back step and be located at those businesses, sort of working like a 9-to-5 job almost, but illegally. I feel like his businesses they'd still be running, but he wouldn't be out punching people and stealing bikes and stuff himself anymore. So let me know what you think in the comments. Where would Tommy be today? Let me know how many times I said I feel, because that had to be like 50. I do hope you enjoyed. I am curious what you think about it. Like, where do you think Tommy would be today? Let me know if you want me to talk about any other GTA protagonists in this style of video. I thank you guys a lot for watching, and I hope you have a great day.